Hey guys, my name is Loveless, and this time we are back with Quirk Knife. So let's get on with it. Yep, Hitoshi hummed into his phone. I overheard him saying something about Wednesday, some sort of off-campus training. He lay on the floor of his new bedroom, which was previously some sort of guest room for Aizawa Yamada's. Now already has several posters of his favorite anime on the wall, a picture of he, Bean, and Kayabu next to his bed, the dresser full of clothes, and even a secret little picture, as Toga had officially dubbed it, as the Vigilante Action Squad. It wasn't the best picture per se. Azuki was biting Dabi's hand, and the man was pulling on his dark green curls. Mei was covered in dirt and soot, mid-sneeze, and Toga had a nosebleed. It was his favorite picture to ever exist. That's not much info to go off on, Azuka responded on the other side of the phone. Where? Blaze, duck! Sorry. Where are you going? Hitoshi sat up and leaned on his elbows. Are you fighting right now? There was panting. Then, don't worry about it. You need 2 hands to fight, idiot. Get off the phone. I'm using both hands. Remember? This stuff, bubblegum made for me. It's a Bluetooth in my mask and earpiece. Hitoshi rolled his eyes and laid on his stomach. Oi! Shouldn't you be focusing, though? No, it's fine. Morphine, release! Put your mask back on and stop biting people. You didn't answer me. Where are you going? I don't know. All I heard was Aizawa telling Yamada that they had the bus ready for tomorrow morning for the off-campus training. Then I think he saw me getting some water in the kitchen, so they stopped talking. Izuku scoffed. Sneaky little shit. Why didn't you just ask him? What? No way. I don't want to get kicked out. I just got here. Fuck you. Hitoshi heard Dabi shout in the background, followed by Izuku shouting back. Blaze! You wrap her up. I'm on a call. Dabi argued back. What are you, some businesswoman? Maybe. Izuku mumbled in return. Anyways, he won't kick you out. Don't be ridiculous. Besides, if he does, I'll literally gouge out his eyes. Grim, Hitoshi whispered back. I wish I could come with you, Izuku mumbled. I feel like we don't get a lot of time to spend together anymore. For Kami's sake, I haven't seen Bubblegum in like 2 days. Hitoshi hummed back. I know. How about this Sunday? We go to the cafe. Minus Doofus 1 and Doofus 2, of course. The line of silence for a moment, and then Izuku whispered back, That's rude. Don't call Blaze and I meant Aizawa and Yamada. Oh, then true. Hitoshi chuckled and heard a knock at his door. Yeah? The door cracked open, and a tired blonde poked in his head. Are you alright? Oh, did I wake you? I'm sorry. I'll be... Whoa there. Yamada raised his hands above his head. You didn't wake me. It was just one of those nights. Can be hard to sleep with Sho out on patrol. Hitoshi pursed his lips. Like when you don't know if he's okay or not? Yeah. That's understandable. The boy said right into his phone, hoping Izuku would hear him. Yamada stepped in further into his room, although still cautious, and continued. And he doesn't answer his phone on patrol, so it makes me worry even more. Hitoshi paused, then put his phone on speaker. Izuku, is Aizawa with you? Yamada said he didn't answer his phone on patrol. Izuku hummed. He passed by a few minutes ago, but he was pursuing a robber. No need to worry. I'll go tell him to put his phone on, or else I'll bite him. Stop biting people, Hitoshi shouted into the phone. You're gonna get some sort of disease one day. Izuku interrupted with a new Izuku interrupted with newfound excitement while it was clear the group had begun running again. Did you know morphine's quirk allows her to never catch illnesses that are passed through blood? Isn't that interesting? What do you mean? Like, AIDS. Bad example. But she won't get sick from the blood she drinks, and that's totally awesome. Hitoshi snickered. You sound like a fangirl. Oh, shut up. Are you tired yet? Yamada tilted his head in curiosity, and the boy smiled gently while explaining. Izuku calls me when I can't sleep. Yamada's short brows pinched together in some sort of inner thought, as the line went quiet for a little bit, then followed by the loud shout with "Chaos!" in the background. Izuku! Hitoshi shot straight up right for his dresser, yanking it open and reaching for the purple cat mask. I'm good, the vigilante clarified quickly. I'm good. Just fell off a building. Oh my god. Hitoshi breathed out and slowly shut his dresser. Then he suddenly screamed just as loud. Did you just say you fell off a fucking building? Izuku laughed. Yes, don't worry about it. It happens all the time. And, like always, Eraser was somehow here to catch me. Hi, Eraser. How you doing this lovely evening? It's funny running into you. Shut up and stop falling off of shit. Aizawa grunted in the background, Hitoshi debating to hang up and press the FaceTime button. You know, Izuku shouted, your husband is worried sick over you. Would it kill you to check your phone once or twice an hour? Hitoshi could literally feel the nervousness coming from Aizawa as there was a small whine, followed by an embarrassed apology. Here, Izuku said defiantly as Aizawa muttered became louder, and Hitoshi moved his phone closer to Yamada. Hey, Sho. Hitoshi snickered from the audible shock. Hey, Sashi. What are you doing up? Just hanging with the little listener here at home. Aizawa cleared his throat. Let me edit my previous question. What are the both of you doing up? It's 2 a.m. Yamada's cheek reddened in anger, and Hitoshi watched curiously as the blonde raised his voice slightly. Because it's hard to sleep when you could be dead. And I wouldn't know since you never answer your fucking phone. Oh, he must be mad. Hitoshi never heard him swear before, let alone in front of one of his students. There was a tense silence, a squeak from Izuku, then a nervous laugh. The eraser just left. Hitoshi watched Yamada got up and left the room with an angry expression, leaving the purple-haired boy like he had just witnessed half of a divorce. Yamada and Aizawa never fought, except for the little silly arguments, but there was no true anger, and Hitoshi thought maybe he could make sure the blonde was alright. He's living in the apartment after all. Alright, Izuku, I'll talk to you later. I should probably check on Yamada. He really got upset. Aww, look at you two being all family-like. Shut it. I love you. Toga laughed and leaned closer to the phone. Yep, love you. And so does... She paused and whispered, Dobby. Hitoshi secretly rolled his eyes. Right. See you guys. Oh, before I forget, Aizawa and Yamada won't be home tomorrow night. And I might not be here either. Something about school. So they left food in the oven and you can help yourselves. Alright, Izuku hummed. I'll let you go. Get some sleep for whatever Aizawa has for you tomorrow. Yeah. Night. Night. Hitoshi watched his phone blink off, and he tossed it accurately onto his bed, creeping out of his door, finding Yamada on the couch with his headphones on. Hitoshi was hesitant. He didn't know how to comfort someone he wasn't confident around. No way in hell is he about to offer a hug either. As if on cue, the window was thrown open and Aizawa flew through, slipping slightly and knocked some papers off the kitchen table. Yamada spun around and yelped in shock as Aizawa gained his footing and wrapped his arms around his husband's shoulders, burying his face into the blonde's hair. Slow tears fell from Yamada's eyes as the two stood in silence. Hitoshi slowly stepped back and retreating into his room. Yeah, those two will be just fine. Wake up! Izuku screamed at the top of his lungs. Dabi shot up and threw one of his boots at Izuku, who yelled and dove out the way. The man sighed, checking his phone with bleary eyes, then groaned loud enough to make Toga sit up as well. It's only 10 o'clock, Izuku. What the fuck? We didn't even get back here until 4 in the morning. Exactly. Izuku smiled proudly. Therefore, you guys got 6 hours of sleep. Dabi thinned his eyes. How much sleep did you get? Izuku pushed out his bottom lip and slowly started doing the math in his hand, calculating like Dabi just asked him to properly calculate the speed of light. He would have some fingers up, then lower some, then mumble underneath his breath while pinching his bottom lip with his free hand. Like 1 hour and 22 minutes? Toga yawned and tiredly finger-combed her hair. How are you not dead? Built different, is all Izuku decided to answer with. Now, we have some things to do today. We do? Toga stood and dressed in an overly large t-shirt she stole from Dabi to use as pajamas. But we never have anything to do. And we showered and did laundry yesterday. Oh, are we going to get our nails done? Izuku pointed at her. No, but that can be our next mission, to get some nails polished. Today, we're going on an adventure. Adventure? Toga screeched excitedly while she put on one of her skirts. Do we need our mask? Izuku nodded. Yep. Stuff you usually wear during our vigilante hours. Dabi snorted. Then why are you wearing your uniform plus one of Toga's skirts? This isn't Toga's, Izuku argued back. I stole this yesterday, and it goes with my costume, and I feel like wearing it, bitch. Damn, Dabi threw his hands up. I was just asking, shit. He carefully smoothed out his black skirt that was just short enough for the bottom of his shorts to be peeking out, but the knives around his thighs were concealed. I was looking for a green to match my top, but I couldn't find the right shade. Does black look alright? Toga gave him 2 thumbs up, and Dabi nodded approvingly. I like black. Izuku looked at the pile of clothes that belonged to Dabi, which was really only black with a rare white shirt and the pink Hello Kitty beanie Izuku gave him. Really, Toya? I couldn't tell. Izuku had been trying to work his true name in casually, and it seemed to be working. This was the first time Dabi didn't flinch at the use of his birth name. Dabi rolled his eyes and got dressed without any other complaints, flipping on his leather jacket and letting his mask hang around his neck. The younger two doing the same. Are you gonna tell us where we're going at? Dabi mumbled as the 3 walked briskly down the street, obviously receiving weird stares from others. Nope. It's a surprise. But we have to go faster. I don't want to be late. Izuku grabbed on Toga and Dabi and pulling them along faster, now jogging down the sidewalk. Izuku was nearly shaking with excitement. He even took the time to put the half of his hair into a pretty bun, just like Toga and Mei taught him. Hitoshi was no help when it came to hair. His own looked like bristles of a paintbrush. Wait a minute, Dabi mumbled. Izuku, this is how we walk Hitoshi and Mei to UA. Hush! And don't worry about it. It wasn't long until Izuku led them up to a bus just outside of the gates of UA, the 3 of them crouching in a bush a few yards away. So they're going for the off-campus training, Izuku whispered. And we're going to be too, because I feel like going. Dabi stared at him with wide blue eyes for nearly a minute. The greenhead smiled the entire time as he waited for a response. Izuku waited, and waited, and waited. Then the man finally answered. You fucking idiot. Dabi deadpanned as Toga wheezed, attempting to smother her laughs into the crook of her elbow. No, you. Izuku pouted back. And it's going to be fine. But we have to hurry. Shit. The doors from the entrance of UA opened, and Aizawa stepped out with his hands stuffed in his pockets. A small group of students trailing after him, while others jogging up slowly, one by one. Well, guys, you're either with me or you're in my way. Izuku beamed, then shoved his mask on and took off running. The bus concealing him, Toga chased after him without a question, as Dabi hummed anxiously from the bushes. Izuku pulled a tiny dagger from his chest, the one he often used to pick locks, and got to work, while Toga bounced on her toes, eyes snapping back and forward, ready to grab Izuku and run if needed. Dabi still hidden in the bush, with his white eyebrows knitted together. Izuku let out a breath he was holding and yanked the panel of the side of the bus up, revealing a small area for the bus that had properly meant for luggage when traveling. Now it was meant for Izuku. He stumbled in and Toga dove after him with a quiet giggle, the two turning and staring at Dabi with waiting eyes. The man's expression grew more anxious. Izuku raised his eyes one last time before slowly reaching up the panel, fingers grabbing around the edge and lowering it. Is he seriously not coming? Toga whispered as the panel slowly blocked their view, Dabi no longer visible. Izuku shrugged and made the final movement to lower the panel silently before it was ripped back open, Dabi bulleting through like a ram, knocking both teens in the face. All three masks clashed as the panel slammed shut. Toya! Toya! Izuku hissed. Trying to be fucking quiet if you couldn't tell. I think a kid saw me. Toga and Izuku turned to the man with wide eyes, freezing like someone had stopped time. Quiet steps came towards their area and Izuku squeezed Dabi's hands. Not that he was worried. He wouldn't hesitate to stab a kid if it meant they could escape. What is it? They heard a sigh, most likely female voice shout from outside. Then the scuffle of feet against the pavement. Never mind. Thought I heard something. A male voice responded with a giggle. Come on, Kirishima. Ida's gonna hit you upside your head if you don't get to the bus now. Right. Coming. The footsteps faded as the way above the canal, Izuku was hiding in shifts. They were boarding now. This is so exciting, Izuku whispered. But, Toya, won't your brother recognize you? The engine started, and Dabi picked absentmindedly at the staples on his collarbone. It's been quite some time, and he hasn't seen me with my skin grafts. Plus, I've gotten taller and lost a lot of muscle mass. Is my hair completely white now? Izuku turned the flashlight on his phone and directed it towards Dabi in thought, both him and Toga analyzing his hair. Yeah, Izuku cringed. I mean, the tips are still kind of gray, and I can even see some strands of red hair, but yeah, it's white. So are your eyebrows. Dabi groaned. Well, not like they're seeing us now anyway. Right? Right. Izuku said in all honesty. I just want to see how Toshi's doing. That's all, I swear. Toga rolled her eyes back as the bus began moving, folding her arms under her head. Do you think there'll be some cuties in this class? You can't take their blood, Toga, Dabi scolded. You're such a buzzkill. Hitoshi sat down beside Zero, knowing the boy wouldn't annoy him on the drive there, and he wouldn't be able to sit in silence, and... I'm gonna sit next to you. Kaminari slammed into Hitoshi's side with a blinding smile, Ashido taking her seat next to the blonde. Why? Hitoshi groaned quietly as the blonde burst into the confrontation with anyone who was willing to listen. Kirishima easily matched his energy. The purple-haired boy burying his nose into his capture weapon and inhaling deeply. His nose thanking May for whatever she added to his scarf made it smell like some blend of fresh laundry detergent, lavender, and coffee. It was a weird combo when it was said out loud, but smelled amazing. He honestly would have sat next to Aizawa, but that would probably spark a conversation he really didn't want to get into. But at least he wasn't stuck next to Bakugo. Until she isn't sure he would be able to keep his hands from punching Bakugo's skull in. He's nothing but rude, loud, and simply a bully. Hey, man. Zero elbowed his side lightly. Are you good? You're looking pretty deep in your head. Hitoshi blinked slowly at his friend and shook his head lightly. Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking, I guess. Thinking about what? I think sometimes. Good job, Kaminari. Hitoshi sighed as Sarah moved on to a conversation with Kaminari, Yutaraka and Asui while he insisted leaning further into his seat, crossing his arms gently and letting his eyes close. He had gotten more sleep than the usual last night, but that didn't mean it was enough. Say, Asui croaked. Asui's croaking voice brought him back from his drifting state. Forgive me, Shinso, but I tend to say what's on my mind. Hitoshi thinned his eyes, but gave her a court nod to continue. In which she did. Your quirk. If someone simply knows how it works, it practically leaves you quirkless. The bus went silent, and everyone turned to Hitoshi, who was sitting there with the same blank expression he wore earlier. Tsu! Yutaraka cried. You shouldn't say things like that. What? Hitoshi spat suddenly. Quirkless? What's so wrong about that? From the corner of his eyes, Hitoshi noticed Aizawa shift around ever so slightly in the seat while Yutaraka's face turned red. I didn't, It's just not polite to compare a hero course student with a quirkless. A quirkless? Hitoshi said louder than he intended. What? Is it some sort of alien species? A quirkless? Hagagure chuckled awkwardly. I mean, no one wants to be compared to one, right? They're kind of useless these days, if we're being honest. Shinso, please. Yutaraka was only trying to defend you. She didn't mean, I don't care. Hitoshi cut him off. Besides, have any of you actually known someone without a quirk? I assume with all your knowledge here on how you put it, a quirkless, you'd know one yourself, right? He made sure his eyes met Bakugo for several moments before returning to look down at his shoes. Well? I don't think anyone would be willing to know it quirkless. Mineta broke the silence. Besides, aren't most of them, dead? Hopefully they're extinct. Stop talking about quirkless people like they're some sort of fucking animal. Hitoshi roared suddenly, standing up from his seat and looming over the small boy. Whoa, man! Kaminari stood up next to him. Chill out! Just ignore them. Aizawa had stood up as well, and the bus grew tense really quick. Hitoshi knew he was visibly shaking with anger. You don't know anything, he muttered quietly. None of you. And no one ever will. All these people know is selfishness. That's all society built these days. Kaminari, Sero, and Ashido gently pulled him back down to his seat and locked eyes on whatever they were seeing out of the window. Still vibrating with pent-up emotions, lashing out was becoming more common lately. Kirishima rubbing the back of his neck. Hey, speaking of quirks, Bakugo's really matches his personality. The spiky blonde looked up from his seat to next to Jiro. What's that supposed to mean, huh, shitty hair? You keep saying that name, but our hair isn't really that different. Like hell it is. Kaminari laughed. I mean, Kirishima isn't wrong. Both you and your quirks go boom. I'll make you fucking go boom, alright? Several students burst into laughter as Hitoshi didn't dare turn his head. He might strangle the closest person to his hands. He felt like Aizawa's worried eyes on the back of his head, but busied himself with playing with the stray fabric of Kaminari's jacket, allowing the texture between his fingers to ground him. Time went past quicker now, that Hitoshi busied himself breathing as the bus rolled to a stop and Aizawa stood. "We're here. Be on your best behavior, or so help me, I will expel you all." The class shut up real quick and got in perfect line, trailing after their teacher like eager little ducklings. Hitoshi's Maverick eyes scanned the huge dome in front of him while the others gasped in unison. "Universal Studios of Japan?" Aizawa pushed the door open where 13 must have overheard them. "No, that will be copyright. Welcome, students, to our own creation, the unforeseen simulation joint for your rescue hero training." "Oh my god, that's 13!" Yudaraka squealed quietly. "They're like my all-time favorite hero." 13? Oyayama tilted his head and the brunette nodded. "Yes, there are another space theme hero, like me. Plus, they specialize in rescues, and that's my goal too." 13 began speaking and explaining the USJ in further detail, but the pulsing in Hitoshi's head had him looking around. The ringing was growing louder, and he scrunched his nose in pain, Kaminari watching him with a frown etched into his expression. He locked eyes with Aizawa, and the two shared silent words for a moment, but the point got across. Something was out of place. "Okay, I think that's everyone." Izuku reached for the panel, knocking it open, the three smugglers having to close their eyes at the sudden breach of sunlight. He slid across the metal and flopped onto the concrete with a victorious grin. "Come on, the door's still open." At a high pace, the three slid in just before the heavy doors of UA slammed shut, and they dove into the shrubbery next to the doorway, snickering to themselves as the students didn't seem to notice. "I thought these morons were heroes in training," Dabi whispered to both Izuku and Toga, who both had their mute on their mics, thanks to the editing Mei did on Izuku's original design. "It's because they're trying to focus," Izuku responded once he had unmuted himself, sitting in a more comfortable position by crossing his leg. "So why did you want to tag along?" Dabi whispered again, fiddling with the hand of his baseball bat. "I wanted to see Toshi, that's all." "That's all?" "Yes." Izuku ignored Dabi's glare and tapped randomly spots on the ground, distracting himself unsuccessfully. 13 was still droning on, and to be honest, he wasn't that interested in what the hero had to say. "And it didn't have anything to do with the hero course." "No." "And you having to wish to become a hero?" "No." "At UA?" Izuku swore colorfully for several seconds until he looked at Dabi. "We established this. I will never be a hero, alright? I'm quirkless. I steal. I'm homeless. I don't even go to school. I've stabbed people, bitten off fingers. Alright, that's enough," Dabi snapped. "You know I hate it when you talk about yourself like that." "But it's true." "It's not." Toga pushed him lightly with a huff. "You're just being stupid." She turned her attention back to the students. "There are some real hotties here. Look at that brunette there. Oh, and the frog girl? So cute. I wish I could just eat them up." Izuku was currently still pouting under his mask and looked back to the students, trying to see who he recognized. "That's Kaminari there, the blonde one next to Toshi. The one that wanted to share his points. I think they're friends now." Toga nodded. "Yeah, and the tall one, Sero, right? Geez, he's taller than Toshi." Izuku nodded and continued to let his eyes wander, landing on the bright red hair and standing next to him. "Well, that's not too important." "Toya, that's your brother." Toga tugged at the man's sleeves. It seemed Dabi already spotted the younger Todoroki, because his eyes were wide and his hands were shaking. Izuku frowned. "Toya, are you—" "He's okay. Dobby ran a hand through his hair and shoulders slumped in forward. He's okay. I don't see any scars on his face. And he's still walking and breathing and take a breath. Izuku cut him off. You're alright too, and it's Hey, why are Toshi's ears bleeding? The three snapped over to their familiar friend where Hitoshi was using his scarf to wipe up the blood, staring at Shota. What's going on? Izuku whispered to himself as he looked back around. Did it just get, colder to you? Yes. Dobby and Toga breathed out at the same time. Izuku's hands moved closer to the weapon around his thigh. Dobby gripped his bat tighter, and Toga adjusted the straps of her blood-sucking machine. 13! Shota shouted, directing their attention to the center of USJ. Portals appearing. The same ones from the kidnapping, the three vigilantes making the connection immediately. Fuck! Izuku gasped as he stood up. Shota slid his yellow goggles on and he instructed, 13, protect the students and get out of here. Everyone was hesitating, but Izuku no longer hesitated. No, Shota was going down there by himself, not with the Vigilante Action Squad around. Yeah, I did it. This took fucking forever. Now I have to work on the next one. I'm so tired for some reason, but I took too long with making this. So, better late than never. If you want to see more of this or hear me read and stumble over my words, because goddamn, my voice broke so many times. I don't even know how to really fix that because sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Weird. If you want to see more, you know what to do. Bye.